his adventures across Northern Europe. He never spoke in any of his videos and instead used the ambient sounds of nature to make his viewers feel like they were right there with him. And while he started uploading videos in August of 2024,
Buy stocks and ETFs with zero commission. Get the Trading 212 app now.
Storm de Buell was a 22-year-old Belgian YouTuber known for sharing his adventures across Northern Europe. He never spoke in any of his videos and instead used the ambient sounds of nature to make viewers feel like they were right there with him. And while he started uploading videos in August of 2024, he'd actually been solo camping ever since he was just 19 years old. At one point, he even biked over 3,700 miles or over 6,000 kilometers across Sweden all on his own. So he had plenty of experience surviving in the wilderness alone. However, when nature turns unpredictable, even the most prepared adventurers find themselves struggling to survive. Tragically, that's exactly what happened with Storm on the night of October 29th, 2024. He was recording another video, this time traveling through the Jokkmokk region located in the Swedish Lapland, known for its beautiful snowy vistas and frequent aurora sightings. Now, Storm usually parked his car in a nearby town and then ventured into the wilderness on foot with his camping gear. These trips often lasted multiple days, sometimes even a whole week before he made it back. October 29th was the last day of one of these trips. He was making his way back and was only a day's walk away from his car, but it was quickly getting dark and continuing to walk would have been extremely dangerous. So Storm made the decision to set up his tent and sleep for the night. A cold breeze was already sweeping through the region, prompting Storm to mount snow around his tent as a makeshift barrier before going to sleep. Unfortunately, nothing could have prepared him for the extreme weather he was about to encounter. Because just a few hours after setting his tent, the Jokkmokk region got hit by an intense blizzard with winds reaching up to 75 miles per hour or around 120 kilometers per hour. Snow quickly started piling up all around his tent as well. But worst of all, the temperature not only fell below freezing to 21 Fahrenheit or -6 Celsius, the strong wind made it feel as cold as 0 Fahrenheit or -18 Celsius. Maybe he realized the gravity of his situation at this point and wanted to contact his loved ones. Because at around midnight, his friend received a video of him showing his tent getting torn apart by the terrifyingly strong wind, with him stating, "Tonight it's going to get worse, Jesus Christ." He also called his grandmother right after and reassured her of his safety, stating, "It's snowing heavily here, but don't worry, I'll survive, you know." Then at 2:36 a.m., the Swedish authorities received an SOS call from Storm. He reported multiple injuries, including a broken nose, and requested immediate help. Unfortunately, the strong wind made it impossible to reach him with a helicopter, and the snow obstructed any rescue efforts on the ground. The blizzard eventually subsided at around 10 a.m., and the rescuers rushed to Storm's last known location. Sadly, by the time they found him, it was already too late. The lower half of his body had turned purple due to the extreme cold, and even the blood on his face from the broken nose was frozen solid. Oddly enough, he was found roughly 1.6 miles or 2.6 kilometers away from his collapsed tent. It's unclear if he was forced to ditch the tent after it collapsed or if he set out before that happened. In either case, he was walking towards his car when he likely fell, broke his nose, and then contacted the authorities. The only silver lining in Storm's tragic end is that at least he died doing what he loved, as he told his father when he first started going on these solo camping trips, "Dad, it took me a long time to know what I wanted, but that's what I want." Hannah Rose Moody was a 31-year-old YouTuber and influencer from Scottsdale, Arizona. And while most of her content on YouTube revolved around her faith as a Christian, her Instagram account posted mostly different content. There, she made regular posts about her hiking adventures across the rocky desert terrain of Arizona. Hitting the trails several times a week had become a natural part of her routine ever since she moved to Arizona 6 months earlier. And May 21st was supposed to be no different. She got up early and quickly drove to the Gateway Trailhead located in the McDowell Sonoran Preserve. She parked her car and began the roughly 4.5-mile or 7-kilometer hike across the Loop Trail. It was a moderately challenging trail with a rocky path and noticeable elevation changes, but nothing Hannah hadn't tackled before. She felt fairly confident she could finish the hike in under 3 hours and even made plans to hang out with friends at lunch. Unfortunately, what started as just another ordinary hike ended with a devastating tragedy. Her friends were the first to sense something was wrong when Hannah didn't show up for lunch on time. She didn't send any messages about running late and wasn't picking up her phone either. It wasn't like her to ghost people out of nowhere. So, after waiting at the restaurant for many hours, her friends decided to check on Hannah at her home at around 7:50 p.m., hoping she was simply resting after a tough hike. But when they arrived at her house, her car was missing from the driveway, the lights were off, and the door was locked. Seeing this, they immediately contacted the authorities. They found her car still parked at the trailhead, and it wasn't long before the search party was looking for Hannah across the Gateway Loop Trail with helicopters, drones, and canines. The search was eventually called off at 11:30 p.m. due to the darkness and resumed the next morning with even more people partaking in the search. This went on till about 12:05 p.m. when a helicopter pilot made the heartbreaking discovery Hannah's friends and family were dreading all night. Just 600 yards off the trail, rescuers discovered the remains of Hannah Moody lying face down on the desert ground. Hannah was dead and likely had been for several hours. However, there was nothing that could explain her end right away. There were no signs of foul play, no intoxicating substances were found in her system, and she didn't even have any serious head injuries from a fall or stumble. With that, the only explanation investigators were able to come up with was that Hannah lost her life due to extreme heat. You see, the temperature in the Gateway Trail region soared to over 102 Fahrenheit, or about 39 Celsius the day prior when Hannah was hiking. She likely suffered from a heat stroke and wandered off the designated path in confusion before collapsing and eventually passing away, leaving her YouTube and Instagram videos as an unintentional final goodbye to her loved ones.
It's free to sell on eBay.
So I sold it. It's free and easy to sell on eBay.
Finn Creaney was a 33-year-old survival expert from the Pitt County area in Scotland. Utilizing the skills he had, Finn operated a survival school in the area called Wildcat Bushcraft, teaching kids general wilderness survival skills as well as bushcraft, which, for those who don't know, includes things like foraging, hunting, and building shelter out of natural materials. The business was also accompanied by a YouTube channel of the same name, where Finn shared his knowledge and experience with the world for free. His content was both informative and entertaining, allowing him to slowly build a small but loyal audience. What these viewers didn't realize, however, was that one day, this very channel would also play a role in Finn's tragic end. Things went south on the 25th of March 2022 when Finn was dropped off at the B873 road near Loch Naver in Sutherland. His goal was to head south and hike the 45-mile distance to the small village of Golspie and make a video about the bushcrafting skills he had used along the way. Now, his family knew the journey would take more than a day, so they weren't too concerned when he didn't reach his destination right away. But then 3 days passed and there was no sign of Finn anywhere. Even more concerning was the fact that he didn't make any contact throughout this time, with every call from his family going straight to voicemail. So, on day 3, Finn's father called the police and filed a missing person report, all while holding on to the hope that his son was simply lost, had broken his phone, or was just taking his time on the hike. Sadly, that couldn't have been further from the truth. In reality, Finn had somehow vanished from the area without a trace. And despite the police spending months searching the area surrounding Loch Naver, they couldn't find a single clue about his current whereabouts. Finn was even featured on a British unsolved mystery-style show about missing people called Vanished, but that also led nowhere. However, even after a year of fruitless searching, his father Mark didn't give up and kept looking for his son on his own. And after 19 months of following the same routine, he finally found the first real clue, Finn's backpack, partially hidden in the bushes along the bank of Loch Naver. While Mark never disclosed exactly what was inside, it gave him and the rest of Finn's family reason to believe that Finn had tried to take a shortcut across the loch and ended up drowning by accident. So, after searching for his body for a few more months, they made the tough decision to stop searching and accept the fact that Finn was truly gone. That said, many on the internet find it hard to believe that Finn actually tried to swim across the Naver and lost control in the process. Many asked why a professional survivalist would make such a rookie mistake, especially when he still had a multiple miles long journey ahead of him, even if he had somehow made it across the Loch Naver. This doubt has given rise to many alternative theories that attempt to explain his mysterious disappearance. These range from fairly out there speculations like Finn doing this to fake his own death and build a new life, to some truly chilling hypotheticals like Finn going into the loch on purpose to end it all. Unfortunately, there just isn't enough evidence to confirm or deny any of these theories. What exactly happened to Finn remains a mystery to this day. Andrew Cross was a 36-year-old outdoor YouTuber from Grand Junction, Colorado. His channel, Desert Drifter, featured content that could only be described as archaeology mixed with exploration. He visited and made videos about any place he found interesting, from thousands years old stone walls to abandoned German spy caves from World War II. Beyond just being educational, his videos also boasted top-tier production quality, helping Andrew amass a massive audience in just 14 months on YouTube. Most importantly, his viewers loved his content and eagerly waited for the next upload. But then Andrew suddenly stopped posting after his upload in January 2025. Some assumed he was simply taking a break, while others was due to his next video. It wasn't until the 2nd of February that viewers received the truth from Andrew's wife, Evelyn, and it was far worse than any of his fans could have imagined. Andrew had gotten into a horrible car accident. He was waiting at a stoplight on the intersection between First Street and North Avenue in Grand Junction while on his way back from shooting a video about the Bears Ears National Monument in Utah on January 31st, 2025. When, out of nowhere, an out-of-control car rear-ended Andrew at an extremely high speed, resulting in his car flipping over and causing severe brain damage. He was rushed to a nearby hospital almost immediately. Unfortunately, it was already too late. He spent over a month in the ICU and was put on life support. During this time, it became abundantly clear that Andrew sadly had no chance of recovering from his injuries. So, on March 4th at around 10:50 a.m., his family made the difficult decision to let him rest and remove the life support system keeping him on the edge of life. This was devastating news for his hundreds of thousands of fans who were blissfully looking forward to his next upload not too long ago. These fans also banded together and raised over $544,000 for Andrew's family in their time of need. As for the person responsible for the crash, named Ragnar Nicholas Crystal, he was arrested 20 days later on February 21st and was later charged with vehicular homicide and driving under the influence. He's still awaiting conviction at the time of writing.
That is typical, innit?
Gwynfor Beach is a white sand beach just north of St. Ann Cove in West Cornwall, England. Because you have to go through some winding roads and sand dunes to get there, lots of people drive by that area without even realizing it's there. But for a YouTuber named Jacob Cockle, this was home. In 2011, Jacob started a channel called Whirlpool Hitman, where he would upload footage of his adventures swimming in whirlpools and doing other extreme stunts such as cliff jumping, extreme surfing, and cave exploration. As of today, the channel has close to 150,000 subscribers. According to his family, Jacob lived his life on the edge, and his stunts often earned him covering shots in big surfing magazines and even prizes from the Sunday Times and National Geographic. In some of his whirlpool videos, Jacob would often throw stuff at a vortex and record random objects getting sucked down by the powerful currents. But in most of his videos, he would actually swim in the whirlpools himself, which is extremely dangerous as the swirling currents could easily pull a person under in seconds. On May 28, 2013, the whirlpool that made Hale Estuary famous surfaced again, as it did a few times a year. And Jacob was determined to swim in it to capture some cool-looking footage for his channel. That day, he ran up to his friend and artist David Rain's house and asked him to film him as he swam around the whirlpool. David had collaborated with Jacob in the past, and seeing how excited his friend was, he agreed. Just like in the rest of his YouTube videos, Jacob brought a prop to the harbor to make his video more eye-catching to his viewers, and for this particular video, he decided the prop would be a horse mask. For several minutes, Jacob swirled around the vortex's edge, letting the current carry him in a circle without dragging him down. At one point in the video, he mentions to his friend that swimming in a whirlpool was a lot like surfing because it was all about flowing with the currents. After filming for about 25 minutes, David mentions that they probably have enough footage and tries to get Jacob to come out of the water.
I reckon you got enough there.
Riding the current of it with your body.
Are you?
Yeah, it's really similar to surfing. Just flowing with it. That's pretty scary.
You got enough?
I should really make the most of it. I don't know what else to do.
Instead of getting out, Jacob asked David to hand him his stick-mounted GoPro so he could capture one last bit of underwater footage before calling it a day. A few seconds after he dived down, David started to worry as Jacob hadn't come back up to the surface. When he yelled his friend's name and received no response, he ran to the other end of the quay where the water flowed into a pool. That's when he saw his friend face down in the water and knew it was too late. Jacob was gone. In March of 2014, Jacob's last footage was uploaded to YouTube with the haunting caption at the end of the video reading, "Live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever." At age 28, Jacob lost his life doing what he loved most. His funeral was attended by dozens more people than the church could accommodate, and they all gathered to celebrate his life and remember him as the fearless adventurer he was. A year after his passing, the harbor was renovated, and the whirlpool that had captivated Jacob and ultimately taken his life disappeared forever. James Stobe was a YouTuber known for his unique train hopping videos, where he traveled across the country by riding on the back of freight trains, delighting his fans with his original piano playing, deadpan humor, and hilarious commentary on everything he saw. Due to the risk of falling off the train or getting caught between moving cars, train hopping is extremely dangerous. But that hasn't stopped people from doing it since before the Great Depression. And it definitely didn't stop James, or Stobe the Hobo as he often referred to himself on his YouTube channel of almost 60,000 subscribers and just a little over 60 videos. In some of his videos, you'll find comments from people claiming that they had met Stobe at bars and assumed he was lying when he told them he train hopped across the country filming his adventures. But every time, Stobe surprised them with some pretty awesome footage of his cross-country train hopping trips. From Palm Beach to Jacksonville, Stobe loved sharing his raw experience of life on the rails with his audience, who always supported him in his unending search for some pizza and a cold beer. Sadly, the adventure came to a tragic end for Stobe on November 8, 2017, when a deadly train accident in Baltimore took his life. Unfortunately, due to the lack of media coverage of his passing, it's hard to know what exactly happened to James Stobe. But the most familiar sources claim that he either fell off an overpass or his backpack got caught on a passing Amtrak train as he was standing on a bridge. Because his death left so many questions unanswered, a lot of his fans submitted requests for the Baltimore Police Department to release more information on the case, but they were asked to remain respectful of Stobe's family and give them space. As of 2024, most of Stobe's fans still don't know exactly what happened to him, but if one thing's for sure, Stobe the Hobo passed away doing what he loved most, and his legacy will live on forever.
Trade silver. Long and short. Get the Trading 212 app now.
Passed away doing what he loved most, and his legacy will live on forever. YouTube channel with over In 2011, the High on Life crew uploaded more than 400 videos showing their audience what it was like to make a living as full-time travelers. From exploring beautiful tropical paradises, to cliff jumping, to diving sunken ships, High on Life always uploaded really cool videos of the crew's adventure across the globe. Living life by their motto, "If you can, you should," embracing life to the fullest was at the heart of everything they did. As mentioned in their channel description, part of their mission was to inspire their audience to get out and explore the world. For several years, the High on Life channel grew quickly, with travel content being released frequently. But on July 3, 2018, a tragic accident would forever change the lives of the 10 team members and their audience. That day, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police reported that 3 people had been swimming in one of the pools at the top of Shannon Falls when they suddenly slipped and fell into a pool about 100 feet below. Shortly after, the bodies of the 3 victims were confirmed to belong to Riker Gamble, Alexei Lyak, and Megan Scraper. Riker and Alexei were High on Life members, while Megan was Alexei's longtime partner. Tragically, it was confirmed by the police that Riker and Alexei were trying to rescue Megan, who had slipped into fast-moving water before the 3 of them fell 100 feet. Through tears, the remaining members of the High on Life crew shared a touching goodbye message for Riker, Alexei, and Megan on their YouTube channel, remembering them as the kind, outgoing, life-loving people they were. Throughout the investigation, there were rumors that the 3 of them had been filming a video at the time of the accident, but this wasn't 100% confirmed. In the aftermath of the tragic incident, a GoFundMe page was started to cover the funeral expenses, raising close to 30,000 Canadian with the help of their loyal audience. After uploading 5 tribute videos, the High on Life crew continued uploading videos of their travel adventures, honoring their friend's legacy. The last video they uploaded was 2 years ago.
Full-body Asian massage near you. Refresh your mind and rejuvenate your soul.
They uploaded was 2 years ago. Since 2009, fitness model and actor Greg Plitt uploaded over 120 videos to his channel where he motivated his subscribers to work out, challenge their bodies and minds, and leave a lasting legacy. In a lot of his videos, he inspired his followers with a philosophy of extreme discipline and seizing every day as an opportunity to become a better version of themselves. Throughout his career, Greg inspired hundreds of thousands of young men to push beyond their limits, embrace hard work, and grab life by the horns. As a West Point graduate and Army Ranger who had jumped out of more than 1,000 planes throughout his career, Greg really did practice what he preached. Sadly, in 2015, Greg lost his life at the age of 37 after being hit by a Metrolink commuter train in Burbank, California. According to witnesses, he had been shooting a video for his website with 2 crew members when the accident took place. Based on the police report, it appears that Greg was either trying to outrun a train and get an amazing shot for his website, or he mistakenly believed that an oncoming train was on a parallel track to his instead of the track he was on. Either way, several sources confirmed that at some point while he was running on the tracks, he tripped, fell, and couldn't get up in time to avoid the oncoming train. Based on one witness's testimony, Greg had been holding a camcorder in his hand when he was struck by the train, but this was never officially confirmed. Chillingly, a bystander took a photo based on the track he was on. Either way, several sources confirmed that at some point while he was running on the tracks, he tripped, fell, and couldn't get up in time to avoid the oncoming train. Based on one witness's testimony, Greg had been holding a camcorder in his hand when he was struck by the train, but this was never officially confirmed. Chillingly, a bystander took a photo photo of Greg standing near the tracks just a few moments before the incident. Another witness named James A. Brown claims he saw a security camera video of Greg running on the tracks as the train approached him from behind.
He had on all black, the train went by, I saw him stumble over the tracks. He had a camcorder in his hand, something like yours, and then that was it, the train stopped.
And you didn't see, you just saw him walking across the track?
Well, I saw him stumble over the tracks as the train was going by, and then it stops right there.
To this day, it's still not completely clear what Greg was attempting to do, but this wasn't the first time he had used train tracks as a prop for his workout videos. In other videos, he had been filmed doing push-ups on the tracks, playing with fire and taunting death as he moved out of the way of oncoming trains just in time to avoid impact. Unfortunately, he couldn't react quick enough that afternoon in 2015. To this day, Greg is remembered as a prime example of what it means to live boldly, and through his hundreds of thousands of fans, friends, and family, his legacy will live on forever. Tor Eckhoff, also known as Apator, was a Norwegian YouTuber who rose to fame with his videos where he would do some pretty risky stuff on frozen waters, including ice skating on thin sheets of ice and diving in ice holes shirtless. On his journey to break the 1 million follower mark, videos where he would do some pretty risky stuff on frozen waters, including ice skating on thin sheets of ice and diving in. Eckhoff, also known as Apator, was a Norwegian YouTuber who rose to fame with his videos where he would do some pretty risky stuff on frozen waters, including ice skating on thin sheets of ice and diving in ice holes shirtless. On his journey to break the 1 million follower mark, Apator captivated his viewers by accompanying his stunts with some very unique habits, including drinking entire bottles of vodka, rolling around in the snow half naked in sub-zero temperatures, and even drinking engine oil just for fun. In his channel description, he mentioned how he was born in 1964 and lived in Norway where he worked in a paint factory. He also confirmed that what he drank in his videos was real vodka, but that his uploads should not be interpreted as any sort of advertisement for the Norwegian vodka brand he was drinking. Throughout his YouTube career, Apator's audience fell in love with his extremely quirky style and his unique antics, which earned him the support of well over 1.3 million followers as of his last video. Sadly, on November 27, 2021, just a few days after he turned 57 and eerily posted a video titled, "I am not dead, I'm 57 today," Apator fell through the ice on a frozen lake near the town of Kongsberg while shooting some footage of himself ice skating. Before he started skating, he had sent a text informing the person he lived with that everything was okay and that he was looking forward to capturing some good footage. After falling through the ice, Tor quickly tried climbing back out, but because the temperature wasn't cool enough to freeze back the edges, it kept breaking under his weight, leaving him trapped. After a while, Tor was picked up by a group of divers and sent by air ambulance to a nearby hospital. The doctors tried everything to bring him back to life, but it was too late as Apator had been in the water too long. In the last video he uploaded, thousands of his loyal followers expressed their condolences and sadness at his passing. Even in 2024, Apator is seen by his followers and the YouTube community as somewhat of a legend, a guy who dared to live life differently from most people and wasn't afraid to show it. It says a lot about his content that even after his death, his videos are still receiving thousands and thousands of views from fans and curious viewers all around the world. Albert Dyrland was a Danish actor and YouTuber who was best known for making comedy sketches and music videos for his songs. Since 2016, Albert uploaded over 220 videos to YouTube, earning him the love of over 170,000 subscribers. In 2018, he also starred in a comedy movie named Team Albert, which follows the life of a high schooler who wants to become YouTube famous. The movie would actually go on to win the Blockbuster Audience Award at the 2019 Danish Film Awards. On July 28, 2021, Albert was hiking Mount Seceda in the Italian Alps and filming a video for his channel with some friends. During the hike, he uploaded a story to Instagram where he showed his beautiful surroundings to his followers. Sadly, that same day, as he was recording a video on his phone, he fell off the mountain and plummeted more than 600 feet to his death. After the incident, a rescue helicopter was sent to the location, but unfortunately he was pronounced dead at the scene. From what I found, Mount Seceda is a part of the Dolomites, a limestone mountain range known for its steep walls, sharp cliffs, and sudden drop-offs, all of which likely contributed to the tragic accident. The investigation revealed that Albert and his friends had been hiking on a route that links two mountain peaks, but it's unclear what exactly he and his friends were doing when Albert fell off the mountain. In the aftermath of his passing, thousands of loving fans shared their condolences, referring to him as a Danish YouTube icon and one of the best content creators in Denmark. With more than 90 million views on his channel throughout his career, Albert was loved by both his Danish and international audience. His tragic death shook the YouTube community and served as a harsh reminder that capturing footage in extreme terrain comes with its own set of risks. To this day, Albert is remembered by his fans for his humor.
Do you feel like your space needs more joy and harmony?
Meet Marie Kondo, the renowned Japanese typing expert, known worldwide.
Sophia McKenna. On the night of May 27, 2018, 20-year-old Spencer Mugford met up with his friend Sophia McKenna in the parking lot of the University of Connecticut Avery Point, where Spencer was a student. At the time, Sophia was in a toxic and abusive relationship with a guy named Austin Cordova, which had gotten worse in the months leading up to that night in May. According to Sophia's mom, Austin was seeing someone else while he was still dating Sophia, after which Sophia also decided to date other guys. When Austin found out, he went to Sophia's apartment and tried to kick down the door, allegedly threatening to end her life. It was after this incident that Sophia started to spend a lot of her time around Spencer Mugford, whom she had met while working at a local spa. They dated for a while, but it didn't take long before they decided to go back to just being friends. A couple of weeks later, Spencer took on another job on a charter boat, taking people out on the water for half-day fishing trips. That night in May, Spencer and Sophia met at the parking lot and got in a mastless sailboat they took from the university campus and headed toward the New London Ledge Lighthouse, a popular tourist attraction in Connecticut that's known as one of the creepiest buildings in the state. A little after 1 a.m., Sophia used Spencer's phone to upload a video to his Snapchat story, where he can be seen paddling on the water aboard the tiny mastless sailboat.
Yo, we're out here in the ocean with us. That is the land. Like, we still have to get to there? Wait, where? Oh, we're almost there.
In the video, Sophia points the phone to the shore and jokingly emphasizes how long they still have left to get to the lighthouse, and the two friends seem in pretty good spirits as they travel toward the lighthouse. A few minutes later, at around 2 a.m., after finally arriving at the New London Ledge Lighthouse, Spencer posted a picture of Sophia in front of a no trespassing sign to his Snapchat. That was the last time either of them was ever seen again. The next day, Austin reached out to Sophia's mother, Michelle, and said that he was worried because he hadn't heard from her, though they had plans to go shopping. That's when Michelle realized she had a bunch of missed calls from an unknown number from 2:05 a.m. to 2:09 a.m. the previous evening. And when she called the unknown number back, she realized it was Spencer's cell phone. Fearing the worst, Michelle reported her daughter missing, and at around 6 p.m. that same day, the Coast Guard launched an official search, during which they found Sophia's car parked at the Yukon parking lot with her phone still inside, which would explain why she used Spencer's phone to call her mother the evening prior. The Coast Guard also found Spencer's shirt tied to a boat cleat on the dock of the New London Ledge Lighthouse, which meant that he had probably used his shirt to dock the sailboat, except the sailboat was no longer there. While all of this was happening, Austin and his dad decided to start their own private search for Sophia and Spencer, and as they were flying over the water, they spotted the Yukon sailboat flipped upside down near Truman's Beach on the north shore of Long Island, around 13 miles from the lighthouse. Strangely, they found a series of unidentified fingerprints on the sailboat which were never analyzed. On May 28th, just one day after the disappearance, the Coast Guard suspended the search due to the harsh weather, with plans to relaunch the search if they found or heard anything new that could help them track down the missing two. On June 8th, 11 days after the disappearance, Spencer's body was found floating in the ocean by a fisherman, pretty much in the opposite direction from the sailboat that Austin and his father had found a few days earlier. Both alcohol and THC were found in Spencer's system. Even though the official cause of death was labeled as accidental drowning with no signs of human-induced trauma, it didn't take long for people to start coming up with some dark theories as to why Spencer had drowned while Sophia's body hadn't been found. On July 22, 2018, the Facebook group Finding Sophia McKenna was formed, where people came together to try to piece the puzzle of Sophia's disappearance. Although the cause of Spencer's death was pretty clear, it seemed strange to a lot of people that the search had been called off so quickly, and that Spencer's phone records were never released. It also seemed a little suspicious that the fingerprints on the sailboat hadn't been analyzed, and that Sophia hadn't called 911 on the night of the disappearance, even though she clearly needed help. The heap of unanswered questions made a lot of people point fingers at Austin, alleging that he had somehow murdered Spencer and later took Sophia to another location before murdering her as well. As of August 2024, there isn't much evidence to support this theory, and even Sophia's mother claims she never believed Austin was responsible despite their troubled relationship. Based on the information that surfaced during the investigation, it's very likely that the sailboat became untied and started floating away at some point in the night, and that Spencer may have drowned trying to bring it back to the dock. But what happened after this is anyone's guess. One of the most popular theories that spread online was that after Spencer drowned, Sophia was left alone at the lighthouse screaming for help. According to this theory, a lone boater may have stopped to offer help and then kidnapped Sophia to either murder her or sell her to traffickers. This is a pretty unlikely theory, especially because the chances of another boater going out to the lighthouse so late in the night are pretty slim, but there's no definitive evidence to prove this isn't what happened. Another theory that was thrown around on TikTok and Facebook was that Spencer and Sophia had allegedly gotten into an argument at the lighthouse, which led to both of their deaths. However, to me this is even more unlikely than the lone boater theory, as the two appeared to be really good friends and didn't have a history of violence. I mean, if you look at the Snapchat video that was uploaded to Spencer's story just a few minutes before the calls took place, it's pretty clear that they enjoy each other's presence, and something very unexpected would have had to have happened to result in such a tragic accident.
Please stop! Stop breaking! Stop breaking! Stupid.
To result in such a tragic accident. As of today, the exact cause of Sophia's disappearance is still unknown. Though the cops and Sophia's family now fully believe that Spencer drowned while trying to bring back the sailboat, and Sophia probably didn't want to call 911 out of fear of getting in trouble for trespassing. It's impossible to know if she drowned while trying to rescue her friend, if she fell into the water by accident, or if something else happened to her while she was alone at the lighthouse. Nancy Ng. In October 2023, a group of 12 Americans traveled to Guatemala for a Be the Change yoga retreat next to the beautiful Lake Atitlan, the deepest lake in Central America. Among those 12 people was 29-year-old Nancy Ng, a California woman who had been to the same retreat the previous year with the same instructor and had enjoyed it so much that she decided to go again in 2023. At around 10:30 a.m. on October 19, 10 people from the group went kayaking in Lake Atitlan. Before paddling to the middle of the lake, a video was taken of the entire retreat group where Nancy could be seen waving at the camera as she paddled a few feet from the shore. She seemed happy as she made her way to join the rest of the group, but sadly, this is footage of the last time Nancy was ever seen. After the video ended, everyone in the group paddled in separate directions, with Nancy kayaking toward the middle of the lake along with Christina Blazek, another woman from California. What happens next depends on who you ask, but according to the owners of the kayak rental company, the group came back from the excursion a few minutes later, with a lot of them looking pretty nervous and on edge. That's when they noticed the group had one less person. Nancy hadn't come back. Strangely, nobody in the group seemed to want to talk to the owners. As per the owner's testimony, the retreat goers went home as quickly as they could, failing to even pay for the kayaks or provide an explanation as to what happened to Nancy. According to witnesses, Christina Blazek looked visibly shaken and had to be calmed down by the rest of the group as they made their way back home. This is where things start to get a little weird. Even though the group wasn't scheduled to go back to the US for a few more days, they all pushed up their departure and went back home just 8 hours after the excursion. According to Eduardo Ramad, the organizer of the Be the Change retreat, the group immediately reported the disappearance to the Guatemalan police, but according to the cops themselves, the group took almost 24 hours to notify them that Nancy had gone missing. Strangely, when Eduardo first notified Nancy's family of the incident, he didn't specify that Nancy had gone missing in the lake. Instead, he tried to get away with vaguely implying that she wasn't coming back, which led Nancy's family to initially believe that she was planning on permanently relocating to Guatemala. By that time, the Guatemalan police had already launched a search for Nancy, but after 72 hours, the search was suspended, leaving Nancy's family to fund the rest of the investigation themselves. While all of this was happening, Nancy's family tried to reach out to Christina Blazek, as she was allegedly the last person who saw Nancy missing. But she refused to talk to the family and took an entire month to give her statement through her lawyer once she was back in the US. According to Christina, she and Nancy had crossed paths at the deepest part of the lake as they were about to head back to the shore. Out of nowhere, Nancy decided to hop out of the kayak to go for a swim. The water was pretty rough, and Lake Atitlan is over 1,000 feet deep, which is why Christina allegedly cautioned Nancy against going in the water. But based on Christina's statement, Nancy didn't listen to her and jumped off her kayak at the deepest part of the lake, leaving her kayak to float away in the strong current. Sensing that Nancy was about to be in serious trouble, Christina paddled as hard as she could to retrieve the kayak and bring it back to her, but by the time she got back to where her friend was swimming, Nancy was gone. Refusing to put herself in danger to rescue Nancy, who was now submerged under the strong currents of Lake Atitlan, Christina reportedly paddled back to the shore screaming for help, but by the time she made it back, it was too late. Strangely, the Guatemalan police said Christina gave them her statement about the incident and was very forthcoming with them, but when Nancy's family reached out to the Guatemalan authorities, they couldn't find any records of Christina's statement on their files. At this time, allegations started being thrown around that Nancy had never been offered a life jacket before she went on her kayak. But the owners of the kayak rental company went on record to clarify that that was completely false, and that the only reason Nancy could be seen without a life jacket in the video was that she decided not to take one. Because Christina refused to talk to the victim's family, they took matters into their own hands and did something that was honestly pretty messed up. They revealed Christina's name publicly and accused her of withholding information from them. As soon as they did that, Christina started receiving death threats from people all over the world. The case garnered a ton of attention on TikTok and Facebook, with dozens of internet sleuths leaking Christina's address and cell phone to threaten her and make her life a living nightmare. As the case gained more and more traction online, some of the wildest theories started to get thrown around, with many people alleging that Nancy had been murdered by her retreat group in a cult sacrifice or as a part of an elaborate hate crime on account of Nancy's Asian descent. What's really strange about this case is how different everyone's testimony is about how the group acted when they realized Nancy was missing. If they had acted a little more transparently, it honestly wouldn't be too hard to believe that everything Christina said was true, but because they acted so shady and stayed silent for so long after the incident, it's understandable why everyone on the internet accused them of hiding something. As of today, many witnesses still haven't given their statements, and there are even allegations that the group bribed the Guatemalan police to let them leave the country early, but there's no definitive proof that this really happened. My personal opinion is that Christina is probably telling the truth and that the group most likely didn't have anything to do with Nancy's death. I'm not justifying the way they acted, but to a certain extent, it's understandable that they'd be nervous after the incident, considering that they were in a foreign country where they didn't speak the language and didn't know how the police would react to Christina's version of the events. Still, their suspicious behavior leaves a lot of room for doubt. Hopefully, more information will continue to surface on Nancy's disappearance, but for the time being, this case will have to remain a mystery. This case will have to remain a mystery. Patricia Meehan. On April 20th, 1989, a woman named Peggy Bueller drove down a dark country road near a small town in Montana named Circle. Suddenly, she saw a woman driving in her lane on the wrong side of the road, heading straight toward her at a pretty high speed. Peggy swerved and was fortunately able to avoid crashing head-on. Unfortunately, Carol White, the woman in the car behind Peggy, wasn't as fortunate. Carol had witnessed the near miss just seconds earlier and had attempted to swerve out of the way as well, but was struck head-on by the woman driving the wrong way. Shocked from the crash and understandably a little dazed, Carol stepped out of the car and tried to find the woman who had caused the accident. A few seconds later, a blonde woman in her mid-30s crawled out of her wrecked vehicle and stood on the side of the road. According to Carol, the woman didn't say anything. She just stared at her with a blank expression. Shortly after, Peggy Bueller looped back around to make sure everyone was okay after the accident, and that's when she saw the blonde woman climb over a fence running parallel to the highway. In her witness statement, Peggy said, "As I looked out across the accident, I noticed someone on the other side of the fence, standing there like a spectator, not like it had happened to her." By the time the cops arrived, the blonde woman was gone, but they managed to identify her thanks to her license plates as 38-year-old Patricia Meehan, a resident of Bozeman, in Montana, where she worked as a rancher in the summer. For 5 days, the police combed the area with dogs and helicopters, but found no signs of Patricia, only a series of footprints about a mile away from the crash site that eventually disappeared. According to police reports, Patricia had been on her way to her parents' house in Pittsburgh before the crash. Interestingly, the cops later found that Patricia had spoken to her parents on the day before the crash and had told them that she was under a lot of stress and wanted to move back in with them for a while. Because Patricia was a pretty stable woman and didn't have any problems with alcohol or drugs, her parents were caught off guard at the request, but accepted under the conditions that she see a therapist before moving back in with them. So, before heading to her parents' house, Patricia scheduled an appointment the following day with a specialist and prepared to make the trip to Pittsburgh. It's unknown why she passed through the town of Circle, which isn't exactly on the way to Pittsburgh from Bozeman, but it's possible she may have gotten lost. With no real leads other than Patricia's identity and her family's statements, the cops tried to find a viable explanation as to where she could have gone. After a while, they narrowed it down to 2 possible theories. Either Patricia had hitched a ride after disappearing into the darkness, or she stowed away on a hay truck that the cops had seen a little more than a mile from the crash site. This is where things get a little strange. Over the next few days, a bunch of people started calling the cops, claiming that they had seen Patricia Meehan at different truck stops and diners along I-70, acting dazed and confused and asking strangers for rides. By the end of June that year, more than 25 sightings had been reported to Patricia's parents, who had both traveled to Montana in hopes of finding their missing daughter. Interestingly, a lot of people who claimed to have seen Patricia verified that it was her when her parents showed them pictures and videos of her, but every single one of them had failed to report the missing woman to the actual cops. It was as if she was doing everything to stay one step ahead of the cops and her parents, even in her seemingly confused state. In the fall of that year, more and more sightings and reports of Patricia started surfacing. In September, Patricia allegedly hitched a ride from a woman in Victor, Montana, who offered to let her stay with her and her husband for the night. The next day, they dropped her off at a truck stop to bring her closer to some friends she said she was visiting in another part of the state, and by the time the couple realized they had a wanted missing woman on their hands, Patricia was gone. While all of this was happening, Patricia's parents
face this way so I can get better video range and stuff. Oh, this is really... Whoa, what is that? The heck? Did you guys see that? Was that someone in there? I don't know. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper. I'm kind of scared. I don't know how far I want to go down. Okay, my video's getting a little bit weird. I'm gonna turn back for a second here. Can't really see too much. That is spooky. We'll do another pack in a second here, but what the heck? Oh. Guys, what the heck? Okay, I'm packing up.
This is the scariest moment in an Outdoor Boys video. See, Luke decided to go camping with his 5-year-old son, but what happened next even caught him by surprise. Because while he was stoking the fire and preparing to go to sleep, he heard a strange noise terrifyingly close to the tent.
Got the fireplace turned around so I can work on it a bit. You hear that?
And in the video, he explains that it's most likely 2 wolves scouting the area, but he stayed quiet to make sure to not scare his son, which is why this is the...
They say the worst thing you can encounter in the woods is other people. An outdoorsman was camping in this creepy forest he's been to several times. And as he goes deeper into the woods to explore, he hears this.
I'm not sure if you guys ever seen the Blair Witch Project, but damn. This is just giving me Blair Witch Project vibes. Super cool. Imagine just being lost out here. It feels like this would never end. Oh, hi. What the hell? I need to get out of here. Oh boy. It could have been campers, but this area is extremely secluded. Damn it. I need to find camp. I'm completely disoriented right now.
They say the...
I used some of the original footage, so please be advised. In the early 2000s, a video was discovered inside one of the scariest places on Earth. It's called the Catacombs, and it's one of the world's largest mass graves. To get to it, you need to wriggle through these claustrophobia-inducing tunnels hundreds of feet below the city of Paris. The video was found miles and miles into one of the least explored... I used some of the original footage, so please be advised. In the early 2000s, a video was discovered inside one of the scariest places on Earth. It's called the Catacombs, and it's one of the world's largest mass graves. To get to it, you need to wriggle through these claustrophobia-inducing tunnels hundreds of feet below the city of Paris. The video was found miles and miles into one of the least explored sections of the catacombs. The video is largely uneventful until he starts following these arrows that he sees on the wall and that he sees on the ground. And these arrows bring him to these rooms that are completely full of human bones, which catacombs experts have no idea where they are. Like, they don't know where this is. Then out of nowhere, something spooks him and he starts sprinting deeper and deeper into the catacombs until he drops his camera, and then all you hear is his panic breathing and footsteps as he disappears. While nobody knows what actually happened to this guy, everybody seems to agree that the footage is authentic.
You won't believe how... Yo, can I be real for a second? There are so many small...
Buy stocks and ETFs with zero commission. Get the Trading 212 app now.
In April 2019, a YouTuber named Jason uploaded a video to his channel, Abbey Mountain Trekkers, in which he recorded footage of his solo overnight trip to the mountains. His channel is dedicated to all things outdoors, in which Jason frequently uploads videos of his adventures hiking, camping, and surviving in the woods. In this particular video, his hike up to the mountain is pretty uneventful, and as soon as he arrives at the campsite, Jason begins setting up his tent and shows his viewers how he starts a fire as the sun begins to set. As he waits for the day to end, he tries his luck at spoon carving, and this is when he reports hearing a strange sound coming from the top of one of the mountains, but he writes it off as a bird or some other small animal and continues setting up for the night. At about 9 o'clock, he turns his camera off to go to bed, but less than an hour later, he wakes up to a strange sound that he says he's never heard before in his life. He mentions it sounded like some sort of guttural animal call, but because it came from pretty far away, he couldn't identify what it was.
I'm still rattled. I've never heard anything like that in my life. It sounded like a mix between almost like a pig, some kind of, I hate to even say it, but a pig, an ape, and the calls almost sounded like how the velociraptors communicate with each other on Jurassic Park. I've never heard anything like that in my life.
Still shaken after the rude awakening, he tries to go back to bed, but just a few hours later at around 1 a.m. he wakes up again to what he describes as the sound of something or someone circling his tent.
Whatever it is, it's close. You hear that? Whatever it is, it sounded like there was 2 or 3 of them, and it started on the other side of my camp, went around my perimeter.
If you look closely at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you can see the reflection of what appears to be 1 or 2 sets of eyes as he pans his flashlight over them. Although there are many animals with eyes that reflect light at night, based on the fiery white color of the reflection, it's very likely that Jason was being observed by wolves or coyotes. Dog's eyes will also give off a white reflection, but considering that it was around 1 a.m. when this happened, it's unlikely that a dog would be walking around in the mountains so close to his campsite. Coyote and wolf attacks on humans are rare, as both species tend to avoid human contact, but they can still become very aggressive if they feel threatened, especially if they have pups nearby. If this were the case, Jason would be in grave danger, but chillingly he doesn't even seem to notice the eyes watching him as he scans the area with his flashlight. Luckily, he went back to his tent and slept safely through the night. When he woke up the next morning, he recorded another update for his viewers, but he never mentioned the eyes that his camera had captured the night before, suggesting he might have never noticed. After this video, there were no additional updates on the incident. In 2021, YouTuber Matt Field spent the night in a dark cave in the middle of nowhere in Australia after his friend told him about an unsettling experience he had in that cave and dared him to spend the night there alone. Matt's channel is a bit more extreme than other outdoor exploration channels, and his videos often feature him leaving civilization behind and going to remote locations for days, living only off the fish he catches and the animals he hunts. In the video, he mentions that he didn't bring any water to the trip, hoping to find water to drink in the cave. After about 4 hours of walking, he finally finds the cave and climbs down the man-made ladder inside. Venturing deeper inside the cave, Matt crawls into the different holes he finds to see